Test your
Check,
mic.
check, check, Checkorama.
That's it. And it just starts. There's no intro. You can do an intro if you want. You can say who you are.
No,
Okay. We have mystery guest today on the
well,
show. Um, hi.
yes. No,
No. I mean, I can.
you do know how to edit.
I know.
Okay,
Like
that's
an
impressive. Okay,
did like a little clip that I put on
you should
Twitter.
apply back at John Deere and get a job as like a videographer for their like.
I'll edit that part out. See, the camera follows the. I think it's not too bad though.
It's not like I want to get closer to you, so
Well, I think if we're both talking, it will be right there.
okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What are we talking about?
We can talk. I was thinking about this morning. I was like, you agreed to come over and do this, so thank you. But I was thinking about it. How let's talk about stuff that we don't normally talk about. Because we talk about a lot of stuff. And
Conspiracies? Are you
no,
saying
no,
is that what we're?
no, not that. I was thinking that it was just Mother's Day.
Yeah,
I said we probably could just touch on, maybe like the role that our moms played in our life.
yeah.
Um,
You were very close with your mom, right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
And but your dad was there the whole time as well,
True.
right? Right?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. They were married. Until my mom passed away.
Right.
Just would say that for as who had the big, heavy-handed, the typical Marine, kind of expected all
Corporal
this.
punishment.
Yeah, exactly. But also expected all this other stuff. But my mom was the one that kind of just, she was the one that taught you life skills and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Mother's Day just happened. I don't know if you want to share anything about your relationship you had with your mom. I talk about it a little bit in my book.
Yeah, yeah. No, my dad left when I was 7, so my mom, you know, being just tough. She was
Yeah.
farm girl. Grew up on a farm in southern Iowa. She was nursing director at Moline Public Hospital when that hospital existed. She was on the board of directors, very intelligent woman, very hard worker. And she just, my dad at that time told her, "You'll never be able to take care of the kids without me," just kind of narcissistic behavior, and said, "You won't be able to keep the house. You can't afford to keep the house." So, I mean, to tell you how tough she was, when I asked her I said, let's move you into a place where like you're taken care of. It's a condo. It's
Yeah.
easier for you. It's a house full of black mold, which infected our entire family. Our whole family had black mold, respiratory issues, things like that. But said to me in her late 70s, whatever, mid 70s, she said, "I'm not leaving that house." She said, "Your father told me that I couldn't keep that house, and I am keeping that house." And I go, "Mom, he died in 1986. Like, do you realize you won the war in
Yeah.
1986? It's been
Yeah.
over for, 30 some years." And she looked at me and it kind of hit her like a light bulb, and
Yeah.
she goes, "Okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right." So, but she was just, yeah, very tough. She loved horses, had trained horses down on the farm.
Hmm.
Her her dogs would carry messages to the girls that she was friends with at other farms. She would ride her horse. Her horses were trained so well, she'd ride them to school and then slap them on the ass and they'd run back to the farm. It was like 10 miles, 8 miles,
And that was
whatever. Southern Iowa, down around Albia. She went to Albia school system. So, but yeah, very intelligent lady. And so very tough, obviously. And she showed me about five or six heart procedures. She was a champ, so yeah, definitely, definitely a huge impact,
yeah.
right?
I think so for sure. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I think the family dynamic is a little different. I don't know why the camera's not going on you now, but um, yeah, it was like she was the one that ruled, and she also ruled it physically. Like my dad, yeah, he had his heavy-handed stuff, but she also ruled us physically because she would threaten us with in church with that pinch behind your arm right here. Dude, I don't know if you ever got pinched right here in church, but that thing,
No, I just get like blasted with a, you
Yeah.
know. No, it was the belt. It was the
Well, the
belt in the.
belt. So like a quick funny story. It's in. My mom had yardsticks, right? Like a yardstick,
Yeah.
measuring stick, 3 feet, whatever. And she would smack me and my brother with that thing. And as we got older, my older brother Mike, he's a year older than me. She would break it on him, because he was just like a big kid. So then finally, she had this thing, and I don't even know if it exists anymore, but like picture like a handle duster, but it was like a metal
Oh yeah,
wire,
yeah, yeah.
and then
Oh
it
yeah.
slid on the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably about 3 feet long.
Yeah, yeah.
She would pull it was like a fucking sword. She'd pull off that thing, and when she hit you with that metal thing, but then when he got to be probably 10 or 11, it was like he would just laugh.
Yeah.
So she knew I can't hurt him anymore.
Well, back then it wasn't considered. There was no such thing as like physical child abuse. It was
Yeah, it
you were
was
just
that
you
was
were
it.
yeah, you were educating your children on the pain that comes in life from not doing the
The
right thing,
consequence.
right?
Yeah,
Yes, the
absolutely.
consequences. And that's the way it was. And so,
Yeah.
but so I had a good friend in high school whose dad was a social worker. And he was telling me this story when I was a senior in high school. And he goes, yeah, he goes, I got a call. I had to go over to this house. There was a woman that was abusing her children, and they said it was completely out of control, beating kids with broomsticks, and just all kinds of chaos going on. And he goes, so I went over and I interviewed him and talked to the mom and got the background and everything else, and went back to the office. And my boss said, so how'd that case work out? What's going on over there? And he goes, don't even worry about it. They're Croatian. And I
Uh,
went, that explains a lot.
it-
That explains a lot. But you and I didn't abuse our kids as in that way, right? I didn't beat my kids. I just
um,
didn't beat my kids, especially because
no.
they were girls too.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would have done that to the boys if I would have had boys, just because my experience with it was so over the top
Yeah.
and too abusive. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't like I got a slap on the ass when I was a little kid. I was just like, pull down your pants and pull off the belt and beat you half to death type
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean?
It-
That's what I'm saying is, so my kids,
no, I get it.
my two oldest daughters, I just give them hot sauce, like
Yeah.
Durkee's Red Hot, which is
Yeah.
one step above ketchup.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter, she'll probably kill me for saying this, would lose her mind. She would bawl
If
and
she
roll
had to eat it
around. Oh, because I'd always do it.
like a spoonful or
I
something.
I did no, I'd put it on my finger,
Yeah.
and I'd sit there and I'd listen to him talking back to me, and I'd give him like four warnings. I'd
Yeah.
go, listen, if you don't do what I'm telling you, like there's going to be consequences here, and then they'd be going, in the middle of just
Yeah.
and I'd bam stick my pinky in their on their tongue with the hot sauce, and my oldest daughter would roll around on the floor,
Yeah.
like she got shot with a gun. Where Catherine and I had to move up in hotness, and I got to the point where I'm like, listen, if she's, I don't know, like 6, and I go,
Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna go get the ghost pepper sauce. Like it's really hot.
Yeah.
If you don't listen to me, and she looks up at me and goes,
Bring it.
ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Catherine loves hot sauce now, so
It's
because of it.
funny you said that about the putting this thing in your mouth. And I remember, my mom, like we had this back door, it was a screen door, but it was like only a screen from the top part, right? There was like a metal part on the bottom. And me and my brother out in the back steps, there was like 5 steps that went like off the back porch of the house. And I don't know what he was doing. He was doing something stupid to me or whatever. And it was the first time she caught me swearing. And just like a fucking movie, it was literally she grabbed me.
First time she,
Br- br-
first time she cut me swearing, just
yeah,
like a fucking
yeah,
movie.
yeah. She brought me in the house and put fucking soap in my
It
mouth.
didn't work.
It didn't work. It worked for that day, but it was like just literally like in a movie. I didn't think that existed, but she did it, and I was like, all right. She didn't put up with shit. I can tell you that.
But now your mom is listening to this from, heaven, and just going, he's said
How much?
fuck so
Yeah,
many times since then
it's
that it
funny.
didn't work.
Yeah, it's funny because like I told you, I just listened to that podcast with Conan O'Brien and Bill Burr, from Canton, Mass. He's like, just people from Massachusetts. He said that he was trying to tell Conan a story, and he said and then fucking Thanksgiving, blah blah blah. But he was talking about it in a good way, and he was like, "Why did you have to add the fucking part?" And he's like, "Well, that's just the way we talk." And I'm like, "I get it. Like, I get shit for it all the time, but when you get in a pattern of talking like that for 30 years,
Yeah.
it's not like you can just unwind it." I had to unwind it at work, obviously, to
No,
some extent, and to some
not
extent.
always with the people that you worked with or for, which, when we went for that run out by my house with the
Well,
VP of,
yeah, no, it was
what was he the VP of?
stupid.
Vice president of what?
No, he was the president
Of your division
of
or of a
the
division?
yeah.
But he was VP of something.
No, but he was the president of the construction forestry group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for the
So we
heads up.
would, yeah. So we go for a run. And I can't believe you didn't know who, because that's the division you worked
Yeah, but he was new.
for. Okay.
He came from the ag side, and he
Okay.
just became the president, or he was about to. That's what it was. He was like somewhere, and he was just going to become the president of our
Right.
group.
Right.
I didn't know who the hell he was. He didn't
So,
even introduce us.
so what would we do? A 7 mile run or whatever that day? I did some buddy push ups, did some other stuff, some
We were at
squats, lunges.
no, we were at your old house, and we left from there and went out like the country roads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think it was probably more like a 10-mile run maybe.
Okay.
And it was on the way back when like we were just chit chatting or
The way
whatever.
back, it was the whole way.
Well, maybe. Um, but
You dropped nothing but fucking mother.
yeah,
And
and I was making fun of you and I was taking videos and throwing you under the bus about running. And the whole time I didn't even know that this guy was going to be like the president of our group, right? And we get back. So we're done running 10 miles and we're standing there and I said, "Yeah, Pat didn't introduce us." And he said, "Oh, my name is John Stone." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Why wouldn't you tell me that this guy?" I think
because
that might have been like the beginning of the end for me at the
yeah, yeah, they put HR on you
yeah.
at that point.
They started monitoring me because they said, "Hey, this guy is just too much. He's not made for this company."
So I want to ask you. I know this is your podcast, but I have to
No.
ask you questions. Not, and you don't have to go into details if you don't want to. But I was perplexed by the way John Deere kind of just drifted into this, being told, I don't know who's telling them, the bankers, the whoever, changing policies and doing a lot of crazy stuff, where the whole company just went from being like true Americana about the farmer and about,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
American health and prosperity
Yeah.
to like everything that wasn't about that,
Yeah.
it seemed like, right?
Yeah. There's a parallel story. So my dad, he still works for, he's 81, he just turned 81. He still works for GE Aircraft Engines as a retired pensioner, and he shows up to work there. He works from like 6 to 10 every day because of laws of like part-time employee, retired pensioner. Anyway,
Don't
long
throw
story.
your dad under the
No,
bus
I'm
with
not throwing.
GE, bro.
No, no, listen, this is good. This is parallel to what I'm leading up to the answer for deer.
Okay.
I don't know what year it was, but I started working there in 2008, and I would talk to him about what we were doing all the time, like because he's grew up in manufacturing. I grew up in manufacturing in the plant. He would take me and my brother on the weekends if he had to go in, and we would see jet engines being built. Like,
Right.
so I got really familiar with factories, factory workers, the union. He went through hell during the 70s. The union, he was in management. They would like leave trash on our lawn and everything if they were going through negotiations. But so I don't know what year it was, but let's say what happened to GE is the same thing that happened to Deere. So in say like the 80s, you had the union and you had these workers that were paid pretty well, and they said, "Okay, Mr. Union worker, you operate that lathe, and now we're going to see, can you, while you're waiting for that to on there, can you do this too?" And they would say, "No, it's not in my job," and they would refuse to do it. So what happened is they'd start shipping all the work to another plant that was
Because people are going to
non-union.
do it cheaper.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that happened to GE Capital GE company was GE Aircraft Engines and the manufacturing part of it. They decided to become a tech company. They got into DEI.
Mm.
My dad said they put people in positions that didn't know what they were doing, and they were
Sure.
making decisions that they had no experience, and it was ruining the company. And so they wanted to be a tech company. Fast forward to now, it's probably when Sam Allen left, and I'm not talking bad about Deere, it's just a fact. When he left and the new president came in, they took the same approach. They said, we're going to be a tech company. And you're talking to farmers and construction workers that don't give a shit about tech. They care, does the machine start in the morning and will it run and will it stay running?
Yeah, because you think about telling the farmers of America, hey, we got this great idea. We're going to go with electric tractors run by AI. So you can sit on your porch
Yeah.
and run it with your phone
Yeah.
type level
Yeah.
stuff, right?
That's what they're doing. And that's what
Yeah,
they've done.
right.
So it kind of, in my opinion, what really led this down to this path we're at today is that they put people in those higher up positions that weren't construction
Qualified,
guys,
not even
or
remotely qualified.
they were tech guys, they were Wall Street people, and they were more worried about that stuff than
Hmm.
the actual what the customer wants and needs. And I don't think that they've completely abandoned that, but that's, I think, what happened. So like the company I started with the leadership that was there isn't the same company that I left last year.
Right, right.
Different everything.
What do you think John Deere's future honestly is, and where do you see agriculture in regards to John Deere and their,
Like I said, that
involvement in it?
okay, so you grew up, your mom did on a farm or whatever, right? You're
Yeah,
a local farmer, and I've talked to my friends that grew up on farms. They're not willing to pay $1 million for some machine that does something that they know better than they know the land,
sure.
right? Generations of farmers know how to plant, how to treat it,
Yeah,
all that, how to grow, get the most out of per acre, all that kind of
sure.
yield, all that.
Yeah.
So to improve it, how much more can you improve it
Hmm.
and cost you $1 million to do?
Right.
So I don't know where they end up, but the autonomous thing, yeah, yeah.
Bad.
I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
it's just you hear people like uh, what Bill Gates or Elon Musk or any of these elites, and they openly say, you know, what are humans going to be needed for in the future? And they
yeah,
go, not a whole lot, really.
right.
And so that tells you, well, if humans aren't needed in the future from these guys' perspectives, and these guys are technically the most powerful people in the world, what are their plans? Not to go to a dark place, but you got to say, actually, we're going to go the other direction. We're going to remove all genetic modification. We're going to grow stuff naturally. We're actually going to drive tractors. We're going to heal the soil and we're going to heal the environment and change the way, the direction that things have been going for the past 60 years minimum,
Yeah,
and just go back to the way it was done and don't do 3,000 acres, do 300 acres. Because, like some of the permaculture people that I talked to, Billy Carson out in North Carolina, he can produce so much money off of literally 50 acres. He's retired. He goes, the only reason I do it is because I love the land.
yeah,
But he'll grow one apple tree, for instance. It's got four berry bushes around it, nitrogen fixers, garlic all the way around it, marigolds all the way around it to keep the deer and the bugs away and all this.
it's,
But berry bushes and all kinds of different stuff. So, like in one tiny area, he's got, 4 to 6 actual products that he'll sell off that tiny, and that's for an entire orchard.
yeah,
And then in between, it can be alfalfa and a lot of other stuff for the chickens. So you don't have to pay for any chicken feed. You don't have to do any of that stuff. So he's got it figured out. If anybody ever wants to go look at Billy Bond from North Carolina, they call him the pimp of permaculture.
nice.
Her
Mm.
permaculture is my passion, is what that stands for. But no, but the agriculture world is one side of it's going way deep down the rabbit hole. The other side's going, we see where this is going. We're going to go back the other
Yeah,
way, and create soil health and environmental health, all that stuff.
yeah. It's funny how we went from Mother's Day to that. So
Mhm.
the other topic I wanted to touch base with
Just one
was
other topic.
just,
That's it.
well, I only had two things, that, and then I wanted to have you ask me questions about that race I did. It was the backyard. It was the Wausau
So you brought me
Limitless.
on to ask you questions on your
Yeah,
podcast. Is
yeah.
that why we're here?
No, I'm just saying that was the two things I wanted to talk about, and I just thought I was going to talk about that with Kyle. We were going to go over and do like a race recap, and he's working today, so figured we could do.
Well, me being, I mean, I can see why you'd have me on because I'm an expert ultra runner
Yeah.
to talk
Well,
about.
like I can think back to like 2015. when we were all running together, and then there was this rumor that you were going to try to run with us.
Try.
Yeah.
There was
Well, just run with us. And I was like, I don't know. All right, maybe. Let's see what happens, right? Everyone thought, well, I mean, the guy was a world-class athlete.
it was a stupid idea.
Well, hindsight, right? I don't think it was stupid. I think it was cool to watch the progression of, like, first of all, knowing now what we didn't know then, what you were going through and dealing with,
Right, right.
and then knowing what you did when you did come and participate was like, wow, that's pretty amazing, right? Um, but I remember hearing, hey, Pat's gonna try to run this race with us, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I
Right.
thought, hey, if anything, if it wasn't the being a runner, but you had the training, you had the mindset,
Mhm.
like, hey,
Right.
to stick through it and all that kind of stuff, and also have that experience of training people too. I thought that would be cool to have
Well,
another
and you
person.
needed somebody like me to come along on runs to make fun
Yeah.
of.
Well, we had already worked on each other for so long running together that we needed new, fresh blood to give a hard time to.
So talk about the race that you just did
Yeah.
in terms of 4 mile loops.
Yeah.
You had to start another 4 mile loop every hour on the hour,
Yeah.
and how you
It was different.
your training was a shit show, that you didn't do it correctly. No, we won't throw everything at you all at once,
No.
but how difficult was the course?
The
First
course
off,
was super difficult. That was the part that we didn't plan for, right? If we had planned for, if you were running this neighborhood for 4 miles, we could probably still be running.
hmm
It was the format was different, something that we never did before, so we thought we'd try it. It's called the Backyard Ultra, and the thing we didn't plan for was that course. It was a lot of climbing. You were either climbing or running downhill the entire time.
ascending or descending
Yeah,
the
which
whole
is
time.
different than running a loop or running out and back for
Sure.
as long as you can go. Um, and the conditions. So the other thing that happened is it didn't rain, and the forecast was supposed to be like it's not going to rain, but then it rained, and it made everything wet. And when you get wet feet, it's just
Goggins,
that's
if Goggins listens to this, he's gonna go, "This guy's an absolute pussy."
probably
He's complaining about the rain.
yeah.
Oh, it
Well,
was
I
muddy.
wasn't complaining
Oh,
about
it
it.
was muddy, motherfucker.
No,
It's
I wasn't
Goggins.
complaining about it. I'm just saying it added a different level of okay, like you when you're out there, if you want to run for 100 miles or 50 miles or 10 hours or whatever, and your feet get destroyed,
Right.
it's kind of like a setback, a little bit.
Uh,
Didn't affect me. It was but it was more about the humidity, the course itself. It was just different. And then knowing, here's what Kurt and I were talking about. You
Dude,
go,
you finished the Leadville 100, which that course is brutal,
yeah,
and you're making nothing but excuses right now
I
about a
know,
backyard ultra.
I know, but let me tell you
It's
why.
bizarre.
Yeah, but this is why.
Okay.
If you sign up for a 50 miler or a 50K or a 100-mile race, there's a finish line.
Right.
In this race, there's no finish line.
You just keep going.
You just keep going until you want to stop. So like in any other race, like Kurt did the Loud Thunder 50 miler a couple weeks before this, he had that in mind. He knew. I don't care if it's 8 mile loop, 5 mile loop, or if it's a 10 mile loop and you got to do it 5 times. He knew there was a finish line of 50, and you're going to keep going until you get there.
Right, right.
That's the way
Yeah.
we would think. That's the way we when we run these races. That's all you think about is finishing, right? And then it becomes time. Right? Say, hey, do you want to finish in 10 hours or 9 hours? Okay, but it's 50 miles. Going into this one and not having done it before, it's up to you.
It's a different
If you
mindset.
want to get back at that start, it's all up to you.
It's like running towards an oasis that keeps disappearing, and then you
Yeah.
see it into the, it just never,
Yeah, like if
yeah.
I knew that my goal was I'm only going to run 50 miles, which I didn't even, no one even set any goals, then I would have been like, all right, that's 12 loops. I'm going to do 12 and I'm done.
Yeah.
And I didn't go into it with that mindset.
How
I
far
just
did the guy go that won it? How many loops?
158 miles.
150.
Yeah, 158 miles,
That's
4 miles
hardcore.
at a time, every hour. That was the part that I would do differently in training is train that start and stop. I did a few triathlons, and if you didn't do the transition training,
Yeah.
done. Like from swimming to running, or from swimming to bike to run. If you didn't practice that, you could get screwed up. Like
hmm
because when you get off that bike in a triathlon, your legs are like lead.
Sure.
And if you didn't train, so in this concept, it was our training was the same way we would train for a 50 miler or a 100 miler was just run for 3 hours
Yeah.
straight.
Right.
no stops, fuel on the way.
So you know now,
Yep,
if are you going to do that again?
I want to.
Okay, so you got to train differently.
Yep.
So like, I guess the best comparison I can do for MMA training that we would do when we were fighting in Japan, it would be 3 a.m. Central Time.
Oh yeah. Time. Yeah.
So we started going to the gym at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we would hit
Get your
a
body
couple
used to
hour
it.
hard training leading up to the fights,
Yep.
so that when you were fighting, you weren't
Yeah.
like in sleep mode.
It-
Because early on in some of our fight careers going to Japan, I mean, you'd be walking out to the ring with the crowd roaring or whatever, and you're yawning,
yeah, because you're
and
not
you're about to get punched in the face.
not fun. No, you remember when we were doing training for Leadville? It was like we should probably start running some of these long runs at night, and there was one that we started at 9 o'clock at night. I don't think you did that one.
One was 7 o'clock. We
Yeah,
started. That was a 40 or 45
40
miler.
filer. You did that
We
one?
watched the moon go all the way across the sky.
You did that one?
Yeah.
That wasn't the 24-hour one.
Nope. Nope.
Maybe I know what it was. You stayed at the track for
Yep.
that 45. Me and
Mm-hmm.
Kurt would do loops
Yeah.
outside of the track and come
Because
back.
I took some advice on taping up my toes and my feet,
Yeah,
which ended up causing me,
way worse.
I lost
Yeah,
almost
stupid,
all my toenails.
dumb.
Skin fell off my
I
feet.
I don't know. I don't know how people do it, but a lot of people do that.
But the shoes, I've got really wide feet. The shoes that I was wearing for that was a slimmer style. And when I started running with you guys as well, there's so many things that I learned from running with you guys. But I started running, I was wearing like Asics, not to talk bad about it, Asics or whatever, but they're not for running ultra level
Yeah,
training and all that. And I'm like, what are these shoes that these guys are all wearing?
yeah,
I've never even heard of Hokas
right.
and the ultras and all of that.
Yeah.
So I was running on pieces of cardboard literally for soles. And then once I changed to Hokas, it's not only the cushion but the width. Like the width has to, because I didn't know that your feet actually swell when you
Yeah,
run that long.
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. I said I don't know how people tape their toes individually like that. Only thing that I do, and I did for this race too, is because I knew it was gonna be wet, is I cover my feet completely in Vaseline first, and then put my sock on,
right?
and that seems to help. It helped during Leadville. Every time I
Yeah,
would come
yeah,
in, if I changed my socks, I was putting the Vaseline on my
uh
foot
huh,
every time.
yeah. So you are you ever going to go back and do Leadville?
Well, we entered the lottery this past year and
Yeah,
didn't get in. Um, but we were just talking about it earlier. Now knowing the course and knowing what it takes, it's probably 2 years away if I was ever gonna really commit to
be
doing
ready
it.
again.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I mean, we trained a lot
I
that
mean,
one year.
I don't think that's true. I mean, I started in September training.
True for a race. Oh wait,
I'd never
no,
run a
you.
marathon or
Uh,
no. It's
It's fun. I love how like you can go back. I think it was when you were on one of these podcasts. I forget which one. It might have been Joe Rogan's podcast where you were talking about the 50-mile run. And that I was thinking about getting a new watch. Okay, so I wear a Garmin right now, and this one's pretty good. It's the 255 with
sponsored by
yeah,
Garmin.
255 with music. I like the size of it. I like it. It's sleek. It's light. But I've been talking to Kyle, and he has like the
Yeah, I
Sunto,
know.
whatever.
I know the
It has
brand.
like a 4 week battery life, 45 hours on GPS mode. So I've been looking at that. So what anyway, I downloaded all of my Garmin data in case I leave Garmin to go to this other app.
Yeah.
And I was looking back at some of the runs, and the 50 miler was on there, and it was, I think we averaged probably, which isn't too terrible, like a 14-minute mile.
Which was at 96 degrees,
Yeah, that we,
95% humidity, and no wind and
yeah,
no clouds.
yeah.
And
I always kick myself because I don't have a lot of video. I took a lot of pictures, but I don't have a lot of video. I have some video, but I wish I had taken video of you when you were having a heat stroke. It was the funniest thing I ever saw. It was awesome.
at that time, I was thinking, this is the closest I've been to death, I think. This is pretty close.
It was, I mean, the whole thing got screwed up from the beginning. Remember, we were supposed to run on like Monday right? Like Memorial Day, which around here in Iowa, it could be 90 and humid and
Mhm.
900% humidity. And sure, well, that day, Monday, we were supposed to run. It wasn't, but we ran on Tuesday because for whatever reason, it worked out better for some other people.
It was Dante's Inferno.
Yes. And right off the bat, I could tell, I'm like, this is not going to be good. It's not going to be good. I mean, we were like 5 miles in and just covered in
And you
sweat.
didn't drink a bottle of Jägermeister the night before.
No, that's the part that we learned after the fact. And that just made it even more impressive that you actually crawled and walked and ran some of that. And I just remember being so frustrated and pissed like the whole time. Like, what the fuck are these
By the
guys doing?
navigation stuff,
That and that's, yeah,
it's just over the next
frustrating.
hill.
Yeah,
What
which
was the
was
name of the
12
town?
miles.
What was the name of the town?
I don't remember. I mean, we went through, I'll go through the whole thing. It's like,
Because it's only 5 miles to the next town was the thinking when we left that
right.
whatever town we were in.
Yeah, it was like Durant or Atalissa,
Atalissa was the
Atalissa,
town that we kept thinking was over the next hill
and it
over
was
and over and
nine
over,
miles away.
whatever it was.
And we didn't
And we had no water for
properly,
about 5 of those miles.
right. I teach that lesson to people now about like when we found a house, the person that was there said we could use their hose to fill up our camelbacks. So we had camelbacks, and Pat, you had on a backpack that was, I don't even know what the hell was in it, but it weighed like 25 pounds. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? But we were so stupid. I think it was both you and I put ice
Oh yeah.
in the camelback, and you're
Uh-huh.
like thinking back about it, going, how
Well, you're
dumb is
diluting,
that?
and plus you don't have as much water. Then all the water that we're drinking with nothing in it, we're diluting all the minerals out
Yeah.
of our bodies and out of our cells. So we're literally trying to kill ourselves.
The plan was we were going to hit Casey's all along the way. That was at the gas station to get food and water. Well, the Casey's in this town wasn't there.
Right. It was nothing. It was
Uh,
nothing. No calories, no
yeah.
nothing.
Oh man, that was so dumb. It was fun though. Some of the stories though, jeez. I remember seeing all the fucking roadkill and you gagging,
Oh, the
the
dead
smell.
turkey,
Oh yeah,
the giant dead
turkey,
turkey.
smelling all that.
It
Like,
was
oh
bad
my
because we
god.
were in a little dip at that time, like a
Yep.
little valley. There
Stale
was no
air.
wind,
Yeah.
and that turkey stench
Smell.
was everywhere.
Oh man.
You just gagged.
Oh, it's terrible.
So, yeah, the navigational thing, we left that up to John Byrne,
Yeah.
as wonderful of a human as he is.
He's the modern
His
day
navigational,
Christopher Columbus.
and so the two things that John might not possess, all the wonderful qualities he has, because he's one of the greatest humans I've ever been around, is navigational skills and driving skills.
Driving? Well, I'd love to talk about driving. I mean,
So I
hell.
remember when you were texting me when I was
Oh yeah.
out in Providence doing a
Doing,
broadcast
yeah.
before I came back to Leadville
Yeah.
to attempt Leadville, and you were texting me going, this fucking guy is gonna kill us. And then you actually got on the phone with me when you were in the back seat
Yeah.
when he was driving.
Because Kurt and Rick were afraid to say something. And I'm like, hey, my life is in your hands, bro. Like, we're gonna die. And you had bald tires on your car. We're going like 80 miles an hour down the highway. And he's looking in the back seat talking to everybody. And I'm like,
On switchbacks on a mountainside.
pay attention to the road. Locks him up. I was scared to death.
He locked him up?
Oh yeah.
Like because he was gonna go over the edge?
No, no, there was, for whatever reason, whatever that highway is, there was traffic, and
Ah,
all of a sudden it was stopped.
ah,
And I was like, da da da, yelling, like, put on the fucking brakes, bro. But we also went on remember when we did, you weren't there for that either, for the climb up Sherman, right?
no, I wasn't there for Sherman.
Yeah, so that was the first day.
Okay.
And to get to where we needed to get to the trailhead was those roads that are just like on the side of the mountain. And I'm
Right.
like, we are gonna die. It was like, again, they don't even say anything. And I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and let my fate be in his hands of killing us before the first day we got there.
He's just having a good time talking,
Right. Which
right?
is very dangerous. And the other thing that was super dangerous, just, and I didn't learn this until after, was that it's not a good idea to go from Iowa to 10,000 feet in Colorado
And
and then
expect
climb 14,000 foot mountain the first day you get there.
Because it beats the shit out of you.
Dude, we got, first of all, the advice that we got was, oh, it's only going to take a couple hours. It's an easy climb.
Park at the top parking lot.
Yeah, it's going to be an easy climb up. So I got my road shoes on. We took maybe one bottle of water, no food. And it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon,
Ah,
which is like the stupidest.
brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant.
So when we got up to the top, there was still snow up there, and we took pictures, and it was great. And now we had to come down, and I have freaking road shoes on, and I'm just literally, those guys were laughing because I was literally on my ass and my hands and my feet just sliding down this. That's how steep it was, like sliding down on my ass.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrible. And then when we got down, I got the worst altitude sickness. My head was like,
Throbbing.
yeah, and I couldn't stop shaking. I was freezing. And Kurt, he got like the spins. So he said if he opened his eyes, it was just spinning and spinning. So really, lessons learned: don't do that. Don't.
I mean, that was good prep for Leadville, though.
Very good prep the
Yeah,
week
you were
before the
conditioned.
race. Let's go climb a 14er the week before.
But you're supposed to go acclimate, though.
Acclimate is different than climbing a fucking mountain. Acclimate is let's just hang out at 10,000 for a day or two, and then
Then go
maybe
up.
go for a walk.
It's why they do base camp and then
Right.
camp 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 up Everest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's
none of that.
no. We just went right at it.
Okay.
And every time since I've been like when I come back and go back out, like when we went to Utah, same thing. Austin and I, we got to Silverthorne after driving through a fucking blizzard.
Yeah.
And same thing. My head just starts. It's just that one day I tried drinking the orange juice or whatever, and then when I wake up in the morning, I'm okay, but I have to take like some meds to get me right because my head just fucking explodes that first day, and then after that I'm fine.
So you got to take what kind of meds would you
No, just
take?
like Advil or
Salt,
whatever. No, just
shitloads of
Advil.
salt,
I know I should
mineral
have.
salt.
I don't know how to get rid of a headache other than Advil or ibuprofen. That's
Yeah.
what I took.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah, but then after that, you know, I didn't even think about it in terms of like the altitude until the race. And then it wasn't even really until about 50 miles in where you can't breathe. And then where you're breathing in through your mouth, it hurts so bad that you have to breathe through your nose. And so when you're out of breath and you're trying to run and climb and that was the only way you could get air in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that made it even twice as hard.
So what was it? It wasn't that year necessarily that was bad. There was a year that burned, not the Lead Man year. I don't think it was this, or maybe it was. Maybe it was. I don't remember. But there was really bad forest fires, and
Oh
so
yeah.
everybody was
Yeah, I
getting
remember.
wiped out by the forest fire smoke and
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't remember what year that was, but it might have been was Kurt was 2018.
Okay,
I don't know if it was that year, but
that was the year that Kurt finished,
yep, yep.
and then the year he didn't. What year was that?
2016 is
That was
when,
when we did it.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yep,
okay,
2016. So that's what, how many years ago?
a while,
Do math on it.
9
What is it?
years.
9 years. Wow.
Uh-huh. And the older you get, the faster time goes. Have you noticed that?
Is that what happens?
You're not seeing that? You're not feeling that?
Well, we've been sitting here for 3 hours, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I do. I totally get it. I think it's, I mean, I'm probably when you're younger, maybe you're more focused on in being in the moment, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
versus when as you get older, you're kind of like, okay, what day is? I don't even know what day it is
everything's a
sometimes.
scramble,
Yeah, I feel
right?
like maybe.
What is today?
I think it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes, good job.
Yeah. Um, so those were the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about running. I wanted to talk about Mother's Day and just kind of then it becomes whatever. It's like freestyle. We talk about um, all kinds of stuff growing up. Um, but I don't know if you read the book, but I have a copy of it right there. I'm gonna give to you. But
Are you going to sign it?
yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
yeah,
I'll enjoy reading it.
yeah,
Yeah. You emailed it to me.
yeah.
So I do remember reading it.
Bullshit.
I do. but I mean, I got hit in the head,
Yeah.
so I have to read it again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, like there was probably about 40 pages of stuff that I didn't even include in there. Like I left out, especially the part about Leadville. I probably did it. I did first time trying it. I used Amazon editor and all that. It was really hard to figure out for the first time.
Yeah.
Like now that I know, but yeah, left out way too much of the story of the race in the book,
What'd
like
you
the
leave
real
out?
story.
What'd you leave
Like
out?
I left out a lot of the stuff about how there was a point, and I think it was like when we leave Outward Bound to go to Twin Lakes, there's like a mini in between stop where your crew can't go.
Right.
And I don't know what it was, probably because you've been running for 35 miles or whatever, or 40 miles. But I went into that mid aid station and didn't refuel my water. So
Yeah, why would you
I
do
don't
that?
remember why. I don't know. I thought what happened is I got confused where someone said then the crew can meet you at a different place that wasn't on
A
the.
little ways away from
Yeah,
that.
but it was the opposite. It was we met first and then went to that second. So anyway, long story. I remember going through that stretch and I ran out of water and I was by myself. Like at that point, I'm not kidding, like in that race, it gets so spread out, you could be running by yourself for hours and not see anybody.
Right.
And I was doing that and I'm going through it and I remember sitting there going, okay, it started to get hard. It was hot, the daytime, the sun was out. Luckily I had that like towel
Yeah.
wrapped around me with the water. And I just was like, what the fuck am I doing? I got mad because it was my fault that I didn't have
Because you
water.
didn't have
And I
water.
didn't know how far I had to go
Right.
from there. And that stretch is
Which'll
14
which'll
miles.
fuck with your head.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
14 miles. You're in the woods now.
It's dry as hell out
It's
there.
dry and you're in the woods and you're going. And in my head, I thought that it was not downhill, but I didn't know you had to climb also in that stretch. And then it kind of goes down into Twin Lakes.
Right.
But I'm like, are we fucking going uphill again? I'm like, where am I? I was pissed. And I had this probably 5 minute conversation out loud with myself. And I said that I was like, okay, if I make it to the cutoff in Twin Lakes, that'll be 50 miles or not 50 miles, 40, whatever it is. What is it, 45?
40.
40. I
Yeah.
said that, hey,
You did good.
you did okay. Right. Right. You did
You're
good.
already making excuses in
Yeah. I
your
was
head.
making excuses in my head, like thinking, how am I going to get out of it? And then all of a sudden I was like, fuck that. No. I said, I don't want to be the guy that comes back and says, everybody's like, oh, you did really good. You
We're
made it.
proud of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. You trained. And, sometimes it doesn't work out.
Because you know why they'd say that?
Why?
Because they didn't even attempt it, and they're like, "Come on over
Yeah. It's
here,
perspective
join us in over here
in the
in the
misery.
misery camp, right?
Yeah. So I remember saying out loud, I was
Welcome, my
like,
fellow
yeah,
coward."
yeah. Saying out loud, I was like, you know what? No, I'm not gonna be that guy. I was like, and then I started to convince myself positively, like, I'm a good person. I'm good. I'm nice to
You're
people.
not a good
Not
person.
nice to
You're not a
people.
good
I
person.
like to help people. I was like, please, God, just give me something, like let me fucking do this.
Right.
And that's when the switch went off, like fuck that, like because when you get out there, some people think you can stay positive and not have any negative thoughts, and the reality is you're going to have a million negative thoughts and a million times where you're going to want to quit.
And a
It's just
million
trying to
times where you tell
figure.
those voices to shut the fuck up.
Right. And you can
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
You can physically and say it out loud.
So think about this. This is an important point because Nick spawned through, and I'll just say it, through my alcoholism and being sober now for 20 months and having done a massive amount of work on mindset, through hypnosis, through, a lot of different work that I've done through physical healing as well, psychological, emotional, spiritual, all that work that goes into it. The one thing that I recognized the chapters of my life where I went through that childhood of being sick my whole childhood, not being able to breathe, doing my best to be good at sports. I was, okay at sports, but I just knew I could be way better. All those sort of things,
Yeah.
seeking the solutions on my own to heal myself and having a physical healing and all those sort of things. And then I had to convince myself back then, just as you had to convince yourself in any way that you had to succeed in life, or anybody that ever hears this, they had to do self hypnosis and visualization of seeing themselves in those successful roles to ever even get to that point of making it materialize. So we actually really do project success or failure in our thoughts and in our words and our actions,
I
right?
believe that.
100%.
Yeah.
We are literally, I believe it, that we have God inside of us. We are like that powerful that we can project and create the world that we want. So, what I did going through that phase was I created the world champion that I became. I created all the world champions with a lot of hard work and group,
Yeah.
and that vision. But then I also created the alcoholic and living in fear and being sick, black mold, all the other stuff that was happening to me. And then had to pull myself out of that and recreate again and go back 100% and always now realizing to listen to my intuition, to never let others negatively affect me or my thought processes. And I will never take the advice of anybody ever again or allow people into my circle who will damage my like peace, my inner peace, and all those sort of things. So it's like being a good person or a nice person when that's what prompted me to say all this. Being what I call a people pleaser,
Yeah, I'm not I know, you know.
right?
Yeah.
From like
Yeah, yeah.
almost like the pattern for me, and maybe I was always trying to impress my dad even after he left when I was 7. Like, I'm gonna be great at sports.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show him, and I'm gonna whatever. Like that's like literally a Stockholm syndrome
Yeah.
level thing, right? So it's not about being a good person. You can be a just person. Look out for yourself. Make sure that you are where you need to be in life, because then you're going to be actual benefit to others around you that you love, right? So that's what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
at, I guess. And so
Yep.
that's the way I see you, as a guy that you're a no bullshit kind of person who you love to help people, but if it's going to damage you in any way, you're smart enough. So it's not about being a good person, you're just more of a just person and mindset, right?
Yeah. But everything you said, it's not easy. Right? The path of least resistance is always like I'm just going to give up or go through the easy thing, and that's where I think what I was trying to articulate was it was there is this path that could be me, and then there's this other path that ended up being me.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
and it was a conscious had to make that decision to go through, and I there was another part later on where it kept feeding off of every time I would see you guys, that made me feel more confident because you guys believed that I was going to do it too. There wasn't, I mean, maybe early on you were like, oh man, maybe not.
No, no, I
But
think it was more than anything, it was every aid station, your facial expression and attitude never changed. So I was like, this guy's solid as a rock. Like,
yeah.
I can't tell what's going on in your head, but I can't visually see any weakness taking place or manifesting in any way, which is a huge thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Where Byrne, who's finished Leadville numerous times and got the lead man belt, which is Superman level stuff, at the mile 50, the two times that I had seen him in two different races, he was absolutely destroyed
Yeah. Like there was, you
and
look
would
at
come
him,
back from it
right.
though,
It's
right?
crazy. I don't even know how. Same with Austin. Austin was like barely making every cutoff, right? Um, I don't know how he did it, and and the other thing that was important was eating and drinking, and so you and Jimmy Olsen and Kyle, it just it was just more positive reinforcement of like, hey, he's gonna, we're gonna do this, not, how do you feel? It was like, let's just go, come on, get ready, fucking let's go, you gotta
Yeah.
go climb that mountain again. um so that helped a lot, and that's what I was talking about, that some of that stuff isn't in there, but it should have been. um I don't know what I think. I just got to the point where I wanted to finish it, you know, and I was like, let's just do it
Yeah.
and get it out there.
So wait, did you put the part in the book where you stopped a mile before the finish
Nope,
to like have your
no, I didn't.
emotional moment?
You know,
Why wouldn't you put that in the
I
book?
don't. Like I said, I got writing was hard. It took me a long time. Yeah, that one that was wild. That was um So it was me and Jim Wilson,
Yeah.
and I was like just so focused on the moment, like everything, trying to finish this race or run and do whatever, climb and hike and do whatever I had to do, that I still like wasn't thinking about the like actual this emotional thing. And it happens all the time in every race. But yeah, that was one where I was like, okay, I don't want to meet up with all you guys and then just have that emotion come out. So we kind of just pulled off to the side of the trail, and it just was like boom, like everything came out, like
Yeah.
my whole life came out of me
Pretty
emotionally.
cool.
Yeah, it was.
So like with Austin,
Yep.
who's dude, he's a trip.
Yes, he is.
And but I think Leadville, from my observation anyway, you can tell me, totally changed his life. Like that experience of training and then finishing, like he went from, I know he was going through a lot of tough times before,
Hmm.
and then afterward, he just seems like outwardly he's always been a fairly positive, very positive person, but you can just tell
Yeah.
his confidence level and his ability to accomplish anything he wants now because of having run Leadville a
Yeah.
100 frickin' miles through the mountains, what that does to people, right?
Yeah. Um, but there is also this other part of it where you go through not self-doubt again, but you go through almost like this super high, and then it just comes
The
down
roller coaster on the
on
backside.
the backside of it. All right, look, I
Mhm.
just did that. I'm capable of doing whatever I plan on and set my mind to doing and accomplishing positive, good things. But then it becomes, all right, well, now what? Right? It's almost like this. This is like when someone passes away, you get this onslaught of everybody at the wake, at the funeral. It's everybody, like a peak
Then
of
it's just you.
support, and then it's just you, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing with these races. You finish, like when I finished this one, this backyard, I was like, wow, that was really cool. But then I started thinking, I could have gone further. Why did I stop? And now I want to train and do one right again. Like and I almost got like into this depression of like, shit, that was great, but I wanted to win, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't.
Right.
I didn't even try.
Mhm. No, and that's the thing is like for my life, it's all the thousands of wrestling matches, the football games, the kickboxing, the MMA, every day was and training in the gym, like the euphoric feeling of, and it patterns in your brain that for me, I still haven't worked my way completely out of that. Is that during chaos is when I'm the most calm and at peace.
Yeah.
So like in the most violent moments possible, everything is totally at peace and there's silence for me.
Yeah.
And then when it's like a tranquil moment, like if I was sitting alone right now, that's the most chaotic time for my mind. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you totally. Like I remember that same exact scenario. I'll put it to business. I remember when I was a collector for GE Capital, and it would be like
So did you carry a gun at that time and being a
no,
collector?
no, it was commercial accounts. It wasn't like we're going breaking legs. I
So
do
did
do that,
it's you
but
made it sound
not.
quite mobbish.
Yeah. No, but there was always it was either the end of the month or like at least towards the end of the year. So
Yeah.
that your job was to collect on a portfolio and get the numbers down and all that and get the money that we were deserved. And
So
I
you
would
were a mob guy.
no, I would sit there in my cube in Danbury, Connecticut, and watch everybody like just imploding because they were so stressed out. And I would just sit there and be like, and I would literally be laughing at them because they'd be so freaked out. And I would be like, okay, I've got my job and I'm doing my thing, and these people are freaking out.
Right. Well, you
That's
were a
yeah.
Southie. You were an Irish Southie from Boston. They're scared of you. They're going to give you the
No,
money.
yeah,
Is that right?
no, no. There was one time though, this guy came in and he had a trucking company in New York, and he was behind, and he agreed to meet me in the lobby. And this is Danbury, Connecticut, like GE Capital's like
Yeah.
headquarters. And he brought cash. He owed like 35 grand in back payments or something. And I can't remember the dude's name, but picture suit and tie, slick back hair, older guy,
Yeah.
the gold watch, rings, comes into the lobby and gives me a fucking thing of 30, like a bag.
Stack.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I don't want to piss this guy off. I was like, actually, I don't think we can take cash. He's like, you're gonna take it. All right,
Well,
thanks.
it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The other thing I feel like, and you probably obviously have taken what you learned in your sport to business. I feel like that's the same thing for me, like with setting goals, right? And having plan,
Hmm.
right? So when you look at whether you're running or fighting or whatever it is, if you don't have a plan or a trainer, that's the other. I mean, without a doubt, how crazy our group was, there was always somebody that had wisdom about running or like training.
Right.
And like, that's what I was saying when during Leadville, when you were now like part of the crew, listening to you tell everybody what to do and tell me what to do and trying to stay positive and all that. I feel like you can take all the stuff physically that we're doing and translate it to business for sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, the work ethic, but the thing is, let me try and figure this out, how to word it best. In business nowadays, for instance, the digital world,
Yeah.
like people are becoming multi-millionaires and billionaires off the digital world at a faster and faster rate right now. That's where I was missing the boat. Like I have work ethic for days. I'll outwork people all day long, but I didn't understand the tools and, for like, again, for what we're doing
Yeah.
for soil and human health and all of that type of education programs that we're doing. I simply didn't have the connection. I had all the research or a ton of the research where I can hold a conversation with a geneticist, plant geneticist, or human geneticist, or agronomist, or scientist, or, all these different types of people. I understand, uh, at that level, but I didn't understand the business part or the mindset part or the selling part or any of these things. And my business partner, Doc Will Spencer, who's, I call him a national treasure. He's the most knowledgeable guy I've found in regards to soil, crop, animal husbandry, honeybee health, human. He's a homeopathic doctor, all these different things. But we didn't have the sales knowledge and the digital knowledge, and that's where Nick Spahn came in and teaching, like just learning bits and pieces of, like, have you heard of Russell Brunson?
No.
I believe that's his name. Yeah. Click funnels, like learning click funnels and that program of how to do things totally changed. It's changing my life on understanding business and how to generate massive amounts of income, you know, through your message and how to form your message and how to give a speech
Yeah.
at a stadium or a crowd, a convention, to make people all think to themselves the minute you're done speaking that they're all going to go on their phones and order your product
Yeah.
by the time you're done talking.
Yeah.
All of this, I just didn't have any of that education. I
Yeah.
really, and so learning all that stuff is
I was gonna
so.
I was gonna ask you that earlier about, you know, 30 years ago, sales was face to face, relationships,
Mhm.
is structured in a pattern of, okay, let's, cold call, go meet with the guy, explain your value prop. They
Right.
would listen, you'd sit down, go to lunch. To today's world of, I mean, I feel bad for our kids because it's like everything is instantaneous. And that's what you said, the technology piece of like that was missing, but it's a different business model, right? Than old school knocking on doors.
That's the thing. That's the key is that so mastering the digital world.
Yeah,
I'm a dinosaur in this digital age, right? Totally old school.
right.
I want everything to be old school. I wish I had just a phone on the wall again
Yeah, right.
and just be at peace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the way we grew up. But if we're going to not only survive but thrive, we have to adjust and
Oh,
educate
absolutely.
ourselves on this stuff
Yeah.
because that's just the way it has to be. And so that's the process that I've been going through, going, dear God, there's a lot to it, but once you start to get it, you realize just how powerful it is. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I
So
do.
yeah. And the thing is there's a lot of hypnosis that goes into sales. There's a lot of, like, if I ask you a face to face sale, I have to ask, well, or first say, we all recognize that there's problems with the environment. We all recognize the problems with human health as because of the environment, right? Being toxic and all the other stuff that how it's affecting human health. And then you have to bring it down to them and go, how's your health?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? And then they tell you, man, I just massive inflammation or whatever they tell you. And then it's, if we can solve this for you, what would your life look like if
Yeah.
you no longer had to use a cane, or you had endless amounts of energy and could play with your kids again or your grandkids or whatever, or you could run again,
Yeah.
right? Any of those things. And then you have to paint that vision for them. And then you educate them on the mechanisms on the left and right side of the brain. So I have to give somebody a testimonial. I know somebody exactly like you had horrible joint pain and inflammation and all kinds of these things, and they got on the products and now they're playing in the church league basketball. They're
Yeah.
49 years old and done all these things, and they can already see themselves doing it. So that's the right side of the brain, and then you show them data on what's happening, then that's the left side of the brain. And then you're like, do you want to do this fast or slow?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, fast.
Yeah. So then take that in-person one, and now how did you leverage the part that you didn't know the technology? So how do you do that through technology or like apps or
Nick Spawn teaching me the not only mindset work and a lot of the other techniques, but helping me understand ClickFunnels, which I still am just still learning, literally. But the tools of all of your contacts, new people, new emails, new phone calls, new questions, all of organizing everything, and then who bought, who went. If somebody bought, they get a set of emails that go out to them automatically,
oh, yeah, I
automated.
gotcha.
Hey,
Yeah. It's like
since
automatic.
you bought the
Yeah.
Soil Savior box,
Yeah.
we also sell this water device that will create structured water for your plants and all this other stuff. And so there's upsales that go with that, right?
Yep.
And then somebody who left abandoned
Uh-huh.
cart, and then they'll, hey, we noticed that, and
You
then
were right there.
you help them come back,
Gotcha.
which works
Yeah.
really well. And then you have people who visited, entered their name, their email, all those things, didn't go into the store, but then you just start sending them, hey, just keeping you up to date
Yeah.
type stuff. So you'll turn in a no sale into not only a sale, but then an upsell and another upsell and another upsell. And it just generates massive amounts of revenue,
Yeah.
by all these different techniques. And that's just a small part of it, but it's genius. It really is. And it's pretty cool how you think of businesses and ledgers and things. Everything used to be done on paper and
Oh yeah.
one phone call at a time and
Yeah.
all that's, I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's about being able to focus your time for 2 hours a day, say for instance, and then you're done and you're doing other things that you really want to do that are going to benefit the company, right? Like more for me, it's more research,
Yeah.
because if there's a problem going on in the world with soil or whatever it is, I want to research it and I want to understand it and how to solve it, not, not be able to answer those questions and things, right? That's the research part of it is what I enjoy. And I love talking to people and helping them understand, the problems and the solutions to stuff. So that's really for me. But knowing every area of the business is super important for anybody, right?
Yeah.
You got to know how to run a mop, but even by the time you get to CEO. Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Oh, I think I mean, we're an hour into this. If you're
You just had enough.
No, I didn't have enough. I could talk all day. I don't know what you want to talk about next, but
Well, you were the one
I
this is your
did.
show. You're
I
supposed
know.
to have things
No,
to talk about.
I know.
You're a shitty host.
I know. I don't have my partner with me that hammering on some questions. No, I appreciate you doing this. Like I said, it's just trying to get this thing started.
Yeah.
I like
You're
doing
not
it.
trying to get it started. You just got it. You've had how
It's
many
already started.
episodes?
3.
3. So you've already started it.
Yeah, that's just.
So you're not trying.
Well, okay, we're still trying.
No, you're not. You're
Yeah, because we're
doing.
working out.
You're
We're
doing,
doing. You're right. Okay, I'm
right?
wrong. I'm an idiot.
That's the mindset thing too.
You're right. We're doing it.
Yeah. We're doing it. Yeah. It's like you weren't you weren't 40 miles into Leadville saying, I'm trying to run
Yeah,
Leadville.
right.
You're like,
I'm doing it.
I can
Yeah.
run in
Yeah.
Leadville. Yeah.
See, I fall into that trap.
All of us do.
I know. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's funny. Talk about AI. My phone. I've got like Copilot. I've got Grok from Twitter or X, And this morning I was like on LinkedIn. I just check LinkedIn all the time, just look and see what's going on with other people in their careers and stuff. And I said to Grok or Copilot, I said, write a sarcastic parody on there's always somebody that has three things or do these five things. It doesn't matter what business you could be in, but there's always three or five things. And dude, this thing spit out the funniest three to five things about sales. It was awesome. I was like, you could make a career off of it, off
Yeah,
AI, creating shit for
I'm
you.
sure. I mean, that's where there's all kinds of advertising going on. 40 and up and feel lost, or 50 and up feel lost in business. You could learn AI in
Yeah.
like 4
Yeah.
weeks and learn how to master all this stuff and, create, which there's a lot of people that are doing that,
Yeah.
right? Taking shortcuts
Now,
using AI.
yeah, now I noticed on I think on Instagram and I think Instagram, it will ask you, is there a is either TikTok or Instagram. Like if you include AI in there, you have to put like a disclaimer that it's AI
Really?
generated. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so that's funny you say that because every once in a while, the questions I ask AI, you already know what kind of stuff I'm asking AI, right?
Uh,
But so I gotta put this in here because I think I took a screenshot of it. Hold on.
yeah, you can copy and paste it and you can copy it and email it to yourself. That's usually what I do.
Yeah.
And then I save it
So it's plagiarism.
pretty
Is
much.
that what it would that?
But I no, it's just like writing a book. I give it credit.
Hold on. Let
I
me find
reference
this.
AI.
It's Let me find this picture. I
Yeah,
gotta
get your
look for
glasses on.
where is it? Where is it? Images. Where's the images? I can't believe I can't. You know the thing with this phone, it's like the
It's not the
most
phone, it's the operator.
no, it's the most frequently used apps that I click on, then move to the top. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, like
Why do you have it
it'll
arranged like that?
hey dude, listen. I've got to find this because it's important because of what I asked AI. And you can go ahead and fill in time
Yeah,
here while I'm looking because I'm going to find it.
I don't believe you.
Gallery, here we go.
Okay.
Here- You're gonna you're gonna like this question.
Oh, Jen, we need to edit this part out.
No, you won't. So I said,
Um,
how much more powerful is God than AI? Right? Because a lot of people,
okay.
really religious people, deem AI like literally Satan
Yeah.
level,
Yeah, yeah.
right? This is interesting how it came back though.
Okay.
Said comparing God to AI is like comparing the infinite to the finite. Said
Mm-hmm.
it's a category mismatch. God, in most theological frameworks, is an omniscient and omnipotent and eternal being, transcending physical and computational limits. AI, like me, is a human built system bound by hardware, algorithms, and data with no consciousness or metaphysical essence. So, what I stress to people is listen to your freaking intuition. Let that guide you. Do not let people steer you the wrong way. Do not let negative people into your life. For extended periods of time, you're going to have to deal with negativity. It's like you're
Yeah.
working with somebody who's negative. It's life. That's the way it is. But always stick to your intuition because there's three voices. There's your voice, your inner voice. There's the people around you's voices, and then there's that true intuitive
Yeah. Yeah,
voice,
you gut
God's
feeling.
voice,
Gut,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Or, if you believe
Yeah.
in a creator. And so I find myself having the wrong thoughts. I have people giving me bad advice, sometimes good advice, right? But I always have to run any of those two through my intuitive filter to know where I'm going.
Yep.
And my grandma warned me about this shit when I was 17 years old, right? To listen to that instead of listening to myself and my own,
Oh yeah.
whatever earthly desires.
Yeah.
And if I would have listened at 17, my life would have gone a lot smoother. I probably would not have ended up in a cage fighting for the title.
It worked
And a
out.
bunch of, yeah, it worked out. We did we worked our way through it. But I'm telling you, like for anybody that hears this, just listen to your intuition constantly.
You know what I remember hearing a lot when I was younger so was I don't care what so and so is doing. I'm telling you that's what you're doing. Like I don't care what this kid did. You're doing what I'm telling you to do.
Right.
And that was like nowadays, I don't know. The kids now use that as leverage to say, "Oh, well, because the parents are weak and they won't say no."
Hmm.
right? They say, "Oh, so and so did it," and you're like, "Oh, all right, you can do it." Versus when I was growing up, it was like, "I don't give a fuck what he's doing. You're doing what I'm telling you you're gonna do." Like that one, if you jumped off the bridge, would you jump too? Or,
Sure.
that thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, it's not easy to navigate through all those, right? You kind of just like go to that path of least resistance. If you get in that pattern, almost like that pattern of negativity, if you're quitting in your head, you're gonna quit on the course.
Hmm.
We used to say that about you all the time. You'd quit during training. The best was when we were talking about the stairs, and then we'll end it with that. But the stairs, we would come, you would do probably like one or two sets of stairs, and then you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go over to this section over
I
here
run
and
slower.
do
I'm going
my
to do
own."
the
I don't
number.
want to get no.
I'm going to do the number.
Yeah, what they
It's
do
just going
though.
to take me longer to get this shit done. Like, well, because you morons, psychopaths, would show up, like, shake your asses a couple times, like that's your
Yeah,
warm up,
right.
and then you take off sprinting up the stadium stairs when it's 5 below 0. Like this is,
Just terrible.
I, everybody tear off sprinting up these stairs in the dead winter, and I go, there's no warm up, there's no nothing.
Yeah,
That's not how I do it, you know.
so did it, and it was fun, and we used to make fun of you.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right, well,
all right.
thank you, Pat.
What's the name of the show?
It doesn't have a name.
That's the name of the show.
Yeah. No, this we came up with a few names um, because Kyle and I started going to Jimmy's Pancake for breakfast, and I would always get a side of ham. So I thought that would be a cool name, a side of ham. Like
I think doesn't have a name.
doesn't have a name. Nah,
The
we'll
doesn't
figure.
have a name podcast.
Yeah.
That'll stand out.
Okay.
I like that.
All right. You just named it.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Pat.
Very welcome.